Hi, and thanks for joining us on the show today. We've got Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng, an ICU doctor at the Ottawa Hospital. He's also the founder of the Resource Optimization Network and Solving Healthcare, published author, super all-around guy, and good friend. Here's Dr. K. Dr. K, so happy to finally have you on. We've talked about this for a long time, actually. You got a successful podcast in your own right, busy ICU doc. You got a lot on the go, my friend. As we've connected through the years and discussed, we said we've got to make this happen. Happy to finally have you on the Millionaire's Lawyer. Thank you and welcome.
JP, this has been a long time coming, but this is going to be one of your highlights in 2025. I'm going to just put that down right now. I'm going to just predict that right now. Number one, viewed and listened to podcast for this year. Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's go. And, and an absolute pleasure for all of our listeners as well, right? So, and, in all seriousness, so we've talked through the years, you've been, as a busy ICU doc, I mean, you were a regular feature on the news during the pandemic, right? Very outspoken and had a lot of amazing things to share, things that need to be shared during the pandemic. Some of those themes continue to run true to this day, and things that you continue to espouse. But as we said, all kidding aside, the thing that really got us to the point where we're having this discussion here today is your latest book, right? And I think I want to start, the conversation from there, right? Prevention over prescription. You looked at a lot of the people that were that you were seeing as patients in the ICU during the pandemic, and through your own research through the years, you've looked and thought about what needs to be done to keep people out of your office, right? To keep people out of the ICU. Your thinking evolved. And you got to the point where you said, this is important enough to write on. I want to get this message out to people. And I want to get into some of the messages you have in the book. The first one, though, to begin with, and I think the first pillar that you describe in your book is purpose. And Kwadwo, I want to start there. I want to speak to that first because I want to make it personal. I want to talk about your personal. You've made it a mission, right, to get the word out, to talk to people, to improve their lives. And maybe I'm taking your thunder by saying that, but in terms of purpose, what drives you? What motivates you to get up? I mean, you hit the gym, you do all the things that you're doing, but what is Dr. K's purpose?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, thanks again for having me. And if I were to distill it, it's alleviating suffering. This is probably why I got into this gig in the first place. I started medicine, like I was inspired to do medicine from my own experience as a young patient with bad asthma, and that the power my pediatrician had on myself and the family was incredible. Dr. Conradi, put your hand on your chest, put your hand on mom's arm, and all of a sudden, all our fears, all our anxiety would dissipate. And this is why I wanted to bring to people. And as an ICU doc, absolutely, I get to bring that to the table on a regular basis where people are suffering. They're going through their infections, their pneumonias, and we're there to treat them and to try to get them through their ailment. But what was abundantly apparent during the pandemic was many of these conditions were related to lifestyle choices. So obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome. And as I got more and more information that not only can you reverse these conditions, but and prevent them in many ways, this became an anchor to me. It's like, hey, how do we avoid landing in ICU where we see all this suffering, we see all this pain, PTSD, anxiety, depression, the impact that has on your family, the financial impact that has on society, the patient and their family. There's so many trickle down effects from one ICU admission. So if we could prevent that from happening, wow, that's powerful. And so that's where I've made a pivot in my content and my life. And that purpose was to take away that suffering from people. And this to me was just a natural segue into trying to create that existence.
Yeah, you were doing a lot of these things naturally to begin with, but you were there at the stage of where it's become a crisis, right? Where it's an emergency. And I think what I hear you saying is, from your own experience, you've watched the succession of events that have led someone to be there. Not in all cases, but certainly there's a pattern you've seen, right? So can we break that down? You know, let's break that down to talk of the pattern, the typical person that you see, and I guess I can't even say it, the typical person that you see, but you know, the things that you see that contribute to somebody being there and how they can stop it earlier in the process.
Yeah, great question. So I'll give that caveat. There's some conditions where there's nothing you could do about it. You
That's right.
just end up there, right? Like
We
if
get
you
that.
get into a
Exactly.
car accident, some brain bleeds or aneurysms, there's no, like it's just bad luck. So I don't want to give the impression that this is gonna rescue from any ailment, but the common thread we saw, for example, during the pandemic was like, for example, I never treated somebody that personally that didn't have a risk factor. And some of this was, we'll call it metabolic syndrome. So within that syndrome is tied to obesity. So bigger weight, especially around the waist. We saw high blood pressure being linked to that. We saw prediabetes or diabetes type 2 linked to that. We saw links to their cholesterol being elevated. And so many of the conditions that we see, not all of them, but many of the conditions we see in the intensive care unit are related to stuff that could be preventable. So we mentioned the issues with metabolic syndrome, but there's also smokers as an example. There's alcohol consumption, drug misuse. So a lot of these conditions, if we treat early, could have a significant impact. And so the reason it's a big deal, not only do you, unfortunately, these conditions, you're not as strong as you or I, for example, where frailty is probably one of the main contributors to poor outcomes in the intensive care unit, but you're also more prone to infection because you're more pro-inflammatory. Your lungs aren't as strong because you've been smoking or because you've had so much weight on your from your abdomen or from your chest wall, you can't take deep breaths. So all these things kind of tie into poor outcomes within when you land in the hospital and worse off in the intensive care unit. So the exciting thing is, JP, is that you can start today.
Mm.
I don't care how old you are. The stuff that you could start today can significantly change your prognosis and your general outcome as a result. And so this is why I'm trying to motivate folks and really encourage them, like, let's do this.
That's where I'm at, right? And we've talked about this. You've had a number of programs. I've had the pleasure of participating in as well. But if we're, you know, somebody listening, okay, so yes, I'm in. If I wanted to start today, you know, where do I start? What are the things I need to start focusing on today?
Yeah, so I love it, JP. So we talk about there being 5 pillars. I talk about purpose, and I just want to highlight why purpose is important, because if you're not aligned with your why, like why you do the things you do, why JP wants to help so many business folks and so forth. If you're not doing what you love, you're more likely to not be sleeping as well. You're less likely to be motivated. You're you're eating more poorly. You're less likely to get up and get to the gym because you're not aligned. And when you're not aligned, you're off. You're just not motivated. And
You're
so I
not in
think
flow. It's not all flowing. Yeah, absolutely. These are
absolutely.
all
So
your longevity experts. You're going to say the same. I mean, it's similar themes, right? So yeah, absolutely. It starts from there, right? Getting yourself going on the right path.
100%. And this is something that I came late. It didn't occur to me until I started to reflect on my own like when I've had some downturns in my own wellness and burnout and so forth, is when I wasn't tied to my purpose. So I think that was a big aha moment for me. And then we talk nutrition, we talk about exercise, and we talk about stress management and connection. And the most important lever, in my opinion, if you're going to choose, I always think, like what we talk about in the book, it's 80-20. Choose one or two levers in your life that you think will have the biggest impact. And for me, and most people that are listening, it's going to be nutrition. And within that box, it's protein intake for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Most people underdose their protein, and we would be aiming for anywhere from 0.7 to 1 gram of ideal body weight. So for me, as a 200 plus pound gentleman, I'd be looking for at least 140 grams of protein a day, up to about 205. And it's
So what does
not
that mean
as
in
easy as
practical
it
terms?
sounds.
So someone who's not familiar with, how to even measure a protein, like give us some examples of what you got to be putting
Yeah,
in front of yourself.
yeah. So, example, if you make a just easy one off the top of my head, if you're doing a protein shake, if you're doing a big heap and scoop of a shake, you add some Greek yogurt in there. You're probably gonna be around the 40 grams to 45 grams of protein, around that realm. If you get a chicken breast, you're anywhere from 40 to 50 grams within one chicken breast. So usually about a palm of meat is anywhere from, we'll say, 35 to 50 grams, depending on the meat. And and so the other one that you'll see a lot about is eggs. So that's about 7 grams per egg in terms of protein. So it's not as easy as it sounds. It's a lot,
It's a lot of
and I know,
protein, yeah.
yeah, and I know it's challenging for a lot of folks, but if you can achieve that goal, man, the magic happens because you're going to increase your lean muscle mass, which allows you to burn more calories and increases your basal metabolic rate. So you burn more calories when you carry more muscle. You're going to feel fuller, so you're going to make better food choices. You're going to be less likely to crave carbs or processed food. You're going to be more energetic because you're not having the big fluctuations in blood sugar. So yeah, protein stabilizes your blood sugar. You are just, everything kind of just falls into place when you ingest enough protein. So this is why I say, if I can only give one recommendation for folks, it would be amp up that protein. And I also feel like it's not as life altering as some of the other stuff. Like if you want to put on more lean muscle and get to a gym, that's a lot of changes for a lot of people's lives. Whereas instead of that one chicken breast I put on my plate, I'm going to put another half,
Yes.
one and a half,
And
right?
it starts from being aware, right? As we even talk, because I wasn't, I mean, as you and I have discussed, and I can't get over how much, what you say aligns with what my trainer says and what the other podcasts I listen to, right? So we're all discussing protein now. I wasn't aware of how to get it, right? So it's been great talking to you and others about how to get just there. And you've taken on as a mission as well to help with that delivery, right? Let's talk for just a shameless plug for you, right? But Guyata, right? So for me to you mentioned protein shake, but I was like, how do I actually do this? You've been good enough to show me as well, and then decided to put your, what is it, show us the walk, right? Or walk the talk. But you said, I'm even going to produce a product that can assist people here with that intake. So talk to just a second about Guyata, how perhaps that protein, we can get some of that protein through a product you develop.
Yeah, and so thanks for that, JP. This was one of the things that, as you mentioned, want to walk the walk, and had the opportunity to, with our partners, to produce a high quality New Zealand whey protein powder that was delicious, mixed well, and I know a lot of people never don't know where to go when it comes to supplements and things like this. So I thought I'll do my background work, evaluate this, create this product that is Health Canada approved, that I give to my own kids, and having that confidence to put that out to the public, I thought was doing people a service. So it's, yeah, walking the walk. What's my good source of protein when I can't get enough from natural means? So as an example, JP, and this might seem counterintuitive to folks, I only probably have a shake 3 to 4 times a week because most of the time I could hit my protein goals. But if I'm on the move and think I'm underdosing my protein, just producing a shake, as I mentioned before, throwing some Greek yogurt, some fruits to make sure I get my fiber intake, add the creatine in there, add some collagen in there too, if that's your huckleberry, and I'm meeting my goals. And so it's just a nice tool to have that you can use, that you're more likely to achieve your goals, and it's going to be high quality. It's going to be easier to digest. And so this was an endeavor we took on in about September 2024, and it's been, like, I mean, you and I talk about
Yeah.
how fun it is to have like the side hustles and
Yeah. I mean,
and
it all
the
goes, and when
entrepreneurs.
it's aligned, right, as we discussed, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, everything flows. Like, it comes together, right? Because we have a good time with that. And I'll speak to the product as well, because, I was trying to supplement protein before you and I, well, what'd you say, 2 years? You developed, for a number of years, trying to do it. And I noticed a difference. frankly, with the product. It's nice knowing that you sourced it, trusting you and done sort of the work. Because I was out buying it at Costco and trying to find something that made sense as well. And yeah, I do notice the difference. I'll leave in the show notes for this. As I say, I'm not getting any for this. But as I
Not
say,
yet.
yeah, well, I mean, so I looked at the product as well, because yeah, certainly I'm a fan. It does. I taste the difference, right? So, or maybe what I should say is I taste less, which is probably the difference. Yeah, as I say, it's nice knowing, because that's one thing that my nutritionist spoke to, was that she was saying, beware, because not all these products are the same, right? I got a number of clients that I've got clients that have actually produced some of these types of supplements in the past, and they were quite ready to point out that they can source the underlying product from all different places, right? And there are different qualities. Let's just say that different qualities of what you can source. I know you've gone and sourced the best, and as I say, it's noticeable as you go to consume the product. I'm probably a shake, if not every day, every other day, and I've got my family doing it as well. I've been focused on that protein. I've understood how important that is, right? To get some of that, and how important diet is, right? Are you speaking to that? All those that I've spoken to as well, because it's one of the things that it's easy to not pay attention to. And there are negative effects to that. God bless my wife, who spends a lot of time paying attention to it and is focused on things that are better for the whole family to eat. So we're lucky to have that. Protein is certainly one of them. And then you talk about some of the other things that can be done, right? And types of things that keep you out of the ICU, right? So let's talk about getting to the gym or whatever, gets you moving, because you've written and spoken a lot about the power of movement. What are some of the let's talk about the beginner steps, and then all the way through to perhaps what people ought to be doing if they're actually able to get to the gym and motivated to do so.
Yeah, that's a great point, JP. And I say there's two things that people should focus on, and one's easier than the other, but step count, increasing your walking during the day there's no doubt that the evidence shows that the more you walk, it's tied to longevity. And that's strong, right? And not only are you living longer, probably you get more your heart healthy. You are also improving your mental health. Always good to get outside, and clear your head. It's also good on your sleep. So some studies to show that increasing that step count also improves your sleep, so your recovery and your ability to be cognitively on point, and also improve your metabolic health. So just looking at ways throughout the day that you can increase your step count. I know my superiors probably don't love this, but as an example, if I'm on a Zoom meeting and I'm not sharing it, I'll take my camera off and I'll walk the dog, I'll walk throughout the house or throughout the office, just get my body moving. And movement is medicine. And I think we just got to have that little pivot. Park a little bit further away next time you go into Costco. After your meal with the family, make it a tradition, at least a few days a week, where you all get out and walk together and walk off the meal, which also will burn more calories and blunt that insulin response. So I think that's one thing that collectively doesn't take much in terms of bandwidth to try and incorporate throughout your life, is increasing your step count. And then, as I've seen you represent with this, JP, everyone needs to push weight. Everyone needs to do some form of weight training. And I know it's intimidating to a lot of people, but you do not need to go to a gym. You do not have to have a bunch of equipment. If you're rookie status, body weight exercises that could scale up is perfectly fine, because if you're starting from nothing, you're going to get the benefit just from doing your air squats. Or if you can't, even if your hips are not that mobile, sit to stand 10 times, like that will even give you some benefit. If you can't do a push-up on your knees, do it off the wall. There's just ways of scaling everything. And so I think that, to me, that's a really important component to our concept when it comes to weight training. And you could get resistance bands. Like, I still can do a fairly intensive workout with resistance bands if you do it the right way. And so I think the myth that you need all this sexy equipment doesn't hold water for me. And then obviously, if you can get to a gym and you're doing you're pushing weight. Compound lifts to me are what are the most bang for your buck. So that would be like deadlifts, squats of some sort, presses, which means either the military press above your head or bench press, which off your chest. And another kind of hack that people could use if they're low on the equipment side, I think one of the underutilized tools out there is our kettlebells. Like you could do a lot of strength training and cardiovascular training with a cardiovascular conditioning with a kettlebell. Like that's my favorite tool to use when I don't have much time. So as an example, that's another, I should mention too, JP, that's another myth that I think we need to address is I don't have time to exercise. Well, during my ICU week, my workouts in the morning are less than 10 minutes. I am a big fan of as an example, a Tabata exercise, which means you do 20-second sprint, 10-second rest for 8 rounds of some form of exercise. My favorite one to do is a kettlebell swing. So I'll take a relatively heavy kettlebell, swing it as fast as I can for 20 seconds and take a 10-second break. And if you're doing it right, you will be gassed. Your muscles will be sore, and that's all I'll do for that day. So essentially, with the warm up, it's about, we'll say 8 minutes total, or you could do a second round in there too. But all this to say, we could find a way for you to squeeze it in if you only have a short period of time. And the last thing I'll say, I know I'm rambling, JP, but the last thing I'll say is this whole concept of exercise snacks has been a game changer in our house. What that is implementing exercise, sprinkling it in throughout the day. So as an example, you got a big Zoom meeting day, you're not doing much. Every 30 minutes, you do some form of exercise. So that could be squats, burpees, whatever you choose to do, but it's implementing it throughout the day. Like one of the things that we do is in our house, football Sunday, I have 3 sons. We all love to watch ball. It's a lazy day, but during TV timeouts, we do some form of exercise. If it's every first down, if it's been a really slow game, then we do some form of exercise. So there's a way of incorporating this into your day without it feeling overwhelming.
That's right. And the key is to get moving, right? As you say, to get moving. As a side, as you discuss these things, why is grip strength so important? Why is it so indicative of longevity? Like, I guess the fireman's carry, I keep getting told to do the fireman's carry. I just think of it as you mentioned kettlebells. Can you talk to that, or what is the thinking behind that?
I think my interpretation of that data is that it's associative. So I don't think necessarily if you just work on your grip strength, now you're going to live longer or whatever. I think it's just reflects on that you're strong. And when you're strong, you live longer. So I think, and then the other thing that I learned this from Pavel Tetslucin is that if you do increase your grip strength, though, you will get stronger. It's a nice hack actually for strength. I'll give you an example. If you're doing your bench press and you're it's your last rep and you're really pushing hard and you feel like you're not going to get there, one of the hacks you could do is squeeze the bar as hard as you can. And the theory is it helps recruit some of the muscles that aren't activated during that time. But yeah, you squeeze that bar and you will get some level of additional muscle units that will help you push through. So I think once again, it's tied to just being strong. So, I mean, I work on my grip strength because of it gets me stronger as opposed to working on my grip strength so I could live longer, if that makes sense.
No, and I think they go hand in hand, pun intended, I guess, but that's the reality, right? So it is indicative, it's an indicator, but as you do it, that leads to that outcome that we all seek as well. That's great. So we discussed nutrition, obviously fitness, purpose. Where else are we going? What are the pillars am I standing on here today?
Oh my God. So the one that I don't know about you, I don't know if we've had this conversation, JP, in our many convos about our sleep, but that's the one that is my nemesis. So sleep is within stress management. To me, sleep is the number one 80, like that's the 80-20 of stress management. And yeah, this is the one that I'm not the best at because of lifestyle, 3 kids, you can imagine. And like, to be honest with you, it's like our job isn't always like it carries some level of stress too. And the way I've approached it on a personal level is, yes, we're all supposed to get the 7.5 hours of sleep, but that's not realistic in my world all the time. So I've I've kind of uh, approached it more saying I'm going to get the best quality sleep I can. But so the couple of things that we suggest in the book and what that I incorporate in my life is getting outside as first thing in the morning, getting that UV light to reset my circadian rhythm. I try to be as active as I can during the day and get my step count in, as we mentioned, could be tied to enhancing your sleep. I try to avoid screens right before bed. I think this is probably the one that most of us can benefit from. I also incorporate blue blocking glasses to reduce that blue light. So those that don't know, the blue light from your screens will suppress your natural melatonin, and as a result, it'll be harder to get that onset of sleep. So using blue blocking glasses is shown to improve your sleep quality, but even better yet is to avoid the screens altogether near bedtime. Not eating too close to bedtime as well, not exercising too close to bedtime, keeping the room as cold as possible that your partner will allow. The blackout blinds or using eye cover. I'm a big fan of eye covers, earplugs. If that is your huckleberry, I'm more of a white noise kind of guy. And in terms of supplementation or sleep aids, I think most of the ones that are prescribed, all the ones that are prescribed that I'm aware of, doesn't enhance your deep sleep. It makes you sedated and makes you fall asleep, but won't enhance your deep sleep. So the ones that, like, I'm a big fan of magnesium glycinate because it will reduce the amount of stress. Like, you'll feel more calm, and there's some weak studies showing that it may enhance your deep sleep. And some people like taking melatonin. I'm just giving my personal opinion. Best evidence for melatonin is for jet lag. And yes, you will go through a natural sleep cycle with melatonin. But my fear is that if you take it chronically, the message that it says to your own melatonin is like, oh, I don't need to exist. And the other thing is there's a lot of studies out there showing that the dose that you're getting can be quite variable. What they're claiming is in it can be off, like either by mostly it's going to be more than you think is what I've been told. So I reserve melatonin for travel or extreme situations, but yeah, I my personal opinion is not to take it routinely.
There you go. And it's interesting that, these are things we've all heard through the years, with respect, especially with respect to sleep, but I think all the factors we're discussing. But it's good to hear that, I mean, there's no silver bullet here, is there? These are things, and a lot of things we've been taught, even, dating back to some of these things we heard back in health class, in high school. So, get your sleep, right? I know it's easier said than done. If you're not getting it, understand the importance of it. And if you miss a night, get back to it as soon as you can, I guess is the other thing, right? Because you say life gets busy, there are things that happen, but there's a cumulative effect, right? And as we've been discussing through all of this, all these things can lead up to a consequence that we prefer not to see, as opposed to saying "Gaia strong," right? All the way through. So yeah, absolutely, so important. So I think we got four of the pillars. Is there a fifth that you discussed in the book?
Yeah, like it's a bit of motherly, but it's important. It's that connection piece. It's that being able to avoid that loneliness, and it kind of ties to purpose too. But if we look at what we saw during the pandemic, like, we literally saw our elderly population die of loneliness, and it was just a strong reminder that we are meant to connect. We are meant to be one. And I think there's a bit of a trend still that we're trying to heal from, where a lot of people are we're used to that isolation, and trying to get them to connect again is work. So for some of us, it's work. And I know, I mean, you and I and our dinners. Like there's nothing, I don't know, that's more rejuvenating. Like when we all get together and we share laughs and we share stories and talk about the irritations of our children, and we just, it rejuvenates us, and it's what we're here to do. And so I think what I just highly encourage everybody to do is make sure you feel connected, make sure you got those people that you can lean on. And I always say, like, 5 seconds of courage to call up that old friend or text that old friend, but better yet, call the friend. There's nothing better than getting that call saying, "Yo, I'm just checking out how you doing, brother. Like, how you been? Like, it's been a minute." And I think we need more of that. And uh, one of the concepts also we talk about in the book is it the community piece is easily stackable. So, like, you know, if you and I play hockey, that was my community connection piece in this city when we didn't know anybody. Was hockey is still the good friends from Ottawa right now is was through hockey. And so you get that connection piece, but you also get the exercise piece. You also get the
Yeah, it's
improvement
a
of,
twofer or a threefer in that sense.
yeah, it's like a three for, right? So I think this is one that's stackable and but super important. In fact, JP, last thing I'll say, you all that hype around blue zones that you'll see on Netflix, I think I think that's the magic sauce, in my opinion, is the connection piece that a lot of people, those elderly populations that are moving and eating well, but they're also connected to their
Oh
family.
yeah, that's a big part of it, as you see in the Harvard studies as well to longevity. They're all pointing to the fact that to that very connectedness, right? So yeah, it's so important, so key. And again, that it's stuff that you hear, uh, but it's great to be reminded first of all, and then you know the benefit of your real thinking here and your medical training. Say these things actually have a direct impact, right? So it's easy to put out of mind or think to yourself, I'm not going to take that 5 minutes or invest in that relationship, but there's actually there's actually a reason for your own health to be doing so, right? And it's important for us to hear that, to know that. So thank you for that. The book itself is obviously a wealth of this type of information, reminders for us. What's the best way to find it? How can people find the book that are listening and interested in reading more?
Yeah, though there's two ways that you could do it. Go to drkwadwo.ca. We have it directly on our website, or just go prevention over prescription on Amazon, and it'll be the first hit off of that. But yeah, man, number one bestseller already, JP. This has
Well
been,
done.
we still got depending on when this comes out, we got a party soon about the celebrating the book, which is great. But yeah, this has been a pretty special endeavor that I think even if one or two people read this and say, like, "Hey, I could do this. I could actually take the one or two pieces of this and transform my life," then I know our team has done a great job.
Absolutely, right. And you know, there's the impact obviously on a personal level, and then you know, on a broader level, societal, right? Because you see, I don't want to make it a political conversation, but you've seen the strain on our resources at the hospitals as well, right? So if it's able to keep you know just one or two people out of the hospital, well, then also a success from a societal perspective. So great stuff. Appreciate that. Please do go look at for and support the book. Kwadwo, I love that. I love the work that you've done there. Got a couple of areas I want to take us to before we wrap up the conversation. And one, as we talk how things have evolved, I want to talk a little about how you're using AI or what your understanding of AI, the tools that exist right now, are changing what you do on a daily, regular basis, assisting those you help, and the way you can envision, again, the way we look at improving our health, making use of AI to improve all the other things that we do during a day.
Oh man, so I'm gonna just say
I
I'm
know
an
that's a separate
AI
whole
optimism.
podcast, but as I say, a brief conversation. I want to touch on that and one other thing before we part today.
Oh, absolutely. I'll try and be concise, but I'll just want to give the caveat, like, I am an AI, like, advocate. I'm an optimist. Like, you get the extreme versions of AI folk, and I know there is going to be a negative side, but holy cow, the future looks bright from a healthcare perspective. I would say that we've been one of the co-founders of a company to try and enhance education through this. So, long story short, the main pillars that I see AI dramatically impacting things is through efficiencies. So your interaction with your family doc right now in 2025, most of them I think will have an AI scribe where now you and I, JP, I'm talking eye to eye. I'm not worried about doing my notes. So now instead of seeing, I don't know, 20 people in clinic, now I can see 30 people in clinic because I'm that much more efficient. I think a lot of areas where human factors do not assist in flow and efficiency will be eliminated. Like so, triaging for elective surgeries within the region. I think that's going to be upcoming. I think decision making too. I have no ties to this company, Glass Health AI or something like that. The you put in a description of a clinical scenario. The output out of that is unbelievable. To me, it's operating at a second or third year resident level already,
Wow.
and it's only going to get better. So, and I use it AI in my day to day emails, my
Just efficiency.
summaries.
Yeah, just
Like
efficiency in
it's
itself.
my output has increased by 50% just by the AI adoption. So all this to say, I'm just leaning on the positive. We could get into the negative if you want, but I think there's so much upside in healthcare. The concern or personal concern is we're slow at adopting everything, and so I'm trying to be the change here. I'm trying to bring that to my department too, leveraging AI so we could really enhance patient care and our efficiencies. But it's an uphill battle though.
Absolutely, it's just so important. I mean, the last season of this show, we had a focus on AI. It's going to continue to permeate everything that we do in society. We're wanting to make sure that those listening are aware of the powers, how it's being used in all different fields, and like your health, how important it is to stay on top of that as well. The other theme that's come up throughout, I guess we're under our fourth season now of the show, and I wanted to ask you personally, is how much meditation impacts, or do you meditate, or are you using meditation at all as a tool in your daily life? I'm struck by the range of entrepreneurs and successful business people I've had on the show, and how oftentimes they've spoken to the power of meditation and how it is something that they use as a tool. So we discussed AI, and then to even think about something at a more almost primitive level, meditation. Do you do it personally at all? Do you have anything that you can share on that with respect to your findings with those that you work with as well?
Yeah, this is something that on paper I should do more of, and I used to be more religious about it, and I think I miss it if I'm being honest with you. Like I think the benefits of meditation are clear. I think I don't want to speak out of turn. I thought I saw something even on longevity, but don't quote me on that. But certainly reducing stress, improve mental health, all these things, more clarity. I think there's a lot of good coming out of meditation. I've incorporated a little bit of a different practice in my world, and just because my pace I think has increased over the last, I don't know, little while, that I've incorporated a little bit of breathing or breath work as opposed to just formal mindful meditation or some version of meditation. So I came across this Huberman hack, calls it the physiologic sigh, which we talk a little bit about in the book. Like it's basically a breathing technique that will totally calm down your nervous system. So what you do is you take a deep breath in, and at the top of your inspiration, you take another sniff, and then a slow expiration. And you incorporate that sporadically in your day. So like even
I
doing
get
that
even a little
once,
bit lightheaded as I do that if you do it,
yeah, like
to
you're
enough
gonna
of a
notice your
degree.
heart rate
Yeah.
come down. You're gonna be in a much more calmer state. So I try to incorporate that like as a rule before I pick up my phone, while I'm waiting for coffee, while I'm in traffic, uh, before I got to jump on a podcast, before I go on a stage. So I try and sprinkle that in throughout the day, as opposed to I used to do like a 5 minute uh, mindful meditation practice, and I don't know. I just on paper I think I could go back to it, but yeah, I
It's like, as you say, trying to fit these things in. I've heard many a time though that those say those that are busiest are the ones that need to meditate the most. So it's interesting, right?
100%.
And even a minute. I mean, and going back to thinking of someone like Oprah saying, even a minute a day, right? And it could be just the breath work you're describing, but just to take that pause, because we are racing all the time. And I think our physiology today is such that with technology and all the things that we try to do, we're racing. You know, we're constantly racing, and so to take a moment to reset is good physiologically. And then I found, as I say, this discussion for me that's most, I guess, the most consuming for me is to hear from entrepreneurs that's where they do some of their best thinking, right? Entrepreneurs that have, you know, really made a lot of the significant changes we see in society, as they do it, as they take that moment to stop and slow down and reflect, it's where they have some of their most creative thoughts and where they're able to take leaps from, which is just fascinating to hear as well. So that's why I always ask that question of people to see how much of it impacts them in their daily lives as well. Because again, I think it's important to talk of, and then and obviously see the impact, the way it's reflected and manifested in many people I speak with. Were you gonna ask a question?
Yeah, I was just going to add because you just made a. So I agree. I often mine are shower thoughts um, or times where I'm more still. But you made a point there that I think is worth hearing for the audience was that entrepreneurs often are the catalyst of significant change. I've come to the conclusion that within healthcare, the significant change is going to come from the entrepreneurial lens. I think we're too slow from traditional methods. Research is slow. Traditional research is slow. Governments change. Administration could often get into a lot of red tape. I honestly think in this healthcare crisis, the entrepreneurial side is what is going to be front and center. And I hate to, I hate to say I'm a late, it came to me late, but this is part of why I've jumped on that train, like innovation platforms, startups, you know, that lens, I think, is where I'm hoping, I think the change is going to come. And if I look at my overall mission, you know, that alleviates suffering, of course, but like, I also want to be a catalyst of change. I want to be part of the solution. And I've got experience with research. I've got experience from administration. I've held a couple hats, but the more I'm around these entrepreneurs that think outside the box, that talk a lot of the stuff I talked about in my first book, like values over fear, favoring action, thinking outside the box, seeking diverse perspectives. I think that is where we need to be, and I think this is where it's going to come from.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that as well. I've seen. I mean, that's what gets me going, is to work with those types of entrepreneurs that are solving those problems and be there at a foundational level, right? To watch an idea take root and grow that really does change things, because it happens regularly. Like we see it happen regularly, and we need to see more of it. I think there'll be that convergence of AI as well that allows us to take that next step forward. I'm sure it's coming. I'm absolutely sure it's coming. So yeah, we'll definitely see some of that. Now, so Kwadwo, you mentioned these entrepreneurs, and you've done quite a bit of work. You know, obviously in your job at the IC with the ICU. But do you have any programs or things that you can do to support the entrepreneur as well, or that, you know, that's going to be the tend of the audience that's going to be listening to this show here? Are there any programs available that you know of, or if you can point people towards?
Yeah, thanks for that, JP. Like we just started our own program, looking to help out these entrepreneurs to, we call it lead well. Like obviously, a lot of them have great leadership skills that have led them to success. But you and I both know if you're not taking care of your body and your mind, you're going to falter. You're not going to get to your maximal potential. So, been working with clients now to say like, hey, how do we get you to where you need to be? And a lot of people in that world don't feel like they have time to take care of themselves. So we go through a process where we evaluate their current state, decide where their priorities are, and figure that one or two things that we're going to focus on over a course of 6 to 12 months, and saying, hey, let's get you to the gym. Let's get you moving your body more, increasing that step count. Let's do that movement in a way that you enjoy. Maybe that's pickleball. Maybe that's going for a run, but working with the client to help them succeed in their goals. And my big thing is realism. No cookie cutter solution. Like I'll tell you, I hate running at a personal level. I do not enjoy run. I don't actually think in some ways it's the healthiest option for folks because of your joints. But if you told me today, like I love running, and like this, so we're gonna figure out a way to incorporate it more in your day. And so I think the reason we've really worked with the entrepreneurials and the executives is because y'all are amplifiers. When you see your boss fit, you see your boss prioritize their health, what else happens? The family gets involved, your managers and directors start to get involved, then all your staff get realize this is a priority, and less sick days, more 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 joy out of the job, less burnout. People, it becomes a culture, and so this is why we've focused on that side. And it's hopefully we continue to be transformative in people's lives.
Absolutely, and it's so powerful when you see the leader doing just that, or is the most fit person in the room, right? I can speak firsthand to the running. I've run 5 marathons, and my joints feel it. So it's probably not the best exercise. I try not to run. I certainly don't run like I used to because I don't think it's the best thing for you. But it is pretty powerful to see that leader that is the most fit person in the room. And so, like all things, right? Taking from some of the things we've discussed here and putting, even one at a time into your life is certainly going to add up to a better future for you. And again, as we talk more broadly, perhaps society. Kwadwo, I'd like to leave these shows with a couple of last questions. The last, or I guess second to last that I'll ask here is, if we revisit this conversation in a year or two from now, right? We'll have you back for sure. What's happened in your life between now and then that we can look back fondly on or think of, wow, I'm glad I planted that seed here today. If we got a third book, what are we going to see in 2 years if we come back to this show?
I think it's funny. I think there will be a third book. I think there will be. It's hard to say this without it sounding like you're pumping up your own tires, but I think we're just bigger and better, bigger and better. Like I wasn't. I wasn't clear on a vision for a while. I wasn't sure on how we could try and create change, and I've decided to be more committed to the personal brand. Like when you build that personal brand when the message is positive, like the one that we're doing, like that ability to be more recognizable, have that positive messages. I think things will just build from that. So over the next 2 years, the big thing will be to continue to build a brand, more speaking engagements, more partnerships, GATA being everywhere. You're going to see GATA nutrition everywhere, and then lastly, all our philanthropic initiatives. I want to really scale that up. So we have one called Black Med Collective, which we started in 2020 to try and increase enrollment in for Black students in medical school, which has been, I'll say, successful. Like we've had 6 medical students that got into medical school last year. Went from a group of 3 to now 30. It's a nonprofit that's doing well now. And then the other one is Bridges Over Barriers, which we also started in 2020 to support our youth in the community. Just take away barriers so they could thrive and essentially avoid coming to ICU later on in life. And so this is something that we're currently going from nonprofit to charitable organization. So we haven't been able to dig deep as much as we can, but we've raised over 250,000 over the course of that time. And I would love that to be more recognized name, and just just being more involved on the philanthropic side, I think would really fill my bucket.
I think it's a lofty goal, and I think that we're so lucky in today's age to be able to build the brand, like, because it's a platform, right, to get positive message out. You're certainly doing that. Appreciate you for that. The message is important, Kwadwo. Love having you as a friend, but also, as I say, love supporting the work that you're doing. What's the best way for somebody listening to find you if they want to learn more?
Amazing. And thanks for this, JP. The show, especially, I've been loving the AI content because like I said, I'm an AI enthusiast. So really appreciate the opportunity. two ways that you get a hold of us is if you go to drkwadwo.ca, our main website. We have all our links, podcasts, socials, the books, the consulting or coaching. It's all on there. Otherwise, social media, we're pretty active. If you go at Quadcast, KWADCAST, on any platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, where we post frequently, LinkedIn as well. So that would probably be the easiest way to get a hold of us. We respond to DMs, and we appreciate the follow.
That's great, and your stuff is great. Thanks for putting it there. I'll say as well. I mean, you've been a big fan of my show as well. I appreciate the support there. And then what you put is it's real, right? I love how you'll drop something just as you're on a walk, right? I think that's a great way to do that, right? It's genuine stuff. It's great stuff. Thanks for doing it. I love to end these shows with one thing, or perhaps a list of things. I know we've talked about a range of them here on the show, but one thing somebody listening here today can take from this show, something you've heard along the way, that they can take from the show if they're on a walk right now, or drive right now, whatever it may be, resonated for you, that they can take with them through the rest of the day, rest of the week. You got anything to offer there?
Yeah, I'm gonna go maybe a little bit off script, but I mean, we touched on this really, but that purpose piece, finding a scenario where you feel like you could be your authentic self and be all in is so powerful. Like, we're talking about your health and your wellness, but also for impact, guys. Like, I think this is an era within our country, within health, that we need innovators. We need people that need to take those moonshots. We need people swinging the bat with our current financial and economic scenarios, or the healthcare scenarios. Like, I feel like this is the time to be bold. And so I encourage people, if you got that voice inside your head saying like, oh, I got this big dream that I think I could help achieve. I got this aspiration that I want to try and nail down. This is the time, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll tell you, this is what I'm doing. And it doesn't always rub people the right way, but it's more authentic. It's what I feel like I'm called to do. And we said 2 years from now when we come on, I think we could. I'm confident that we'll have some piece of trying to create a better existence for Canadians at this time. So, long-winded answer there. Sorry, I went a little bit off script, but I think this is a time to be bold.
Love it. Yeah, I love off script as well. Thank you. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being my friend. Look forward to continuing the conversation, and we'll check in again in 2 years. Have a great day.
You too, brother. Thank you.